Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to the channel. This is Amrita, aka the Coffee Chapter, and this is the last vlog for the year 2025. And today we are going to do the year-round wrap-up of the books that I have read. Although I have not read much books, they are all placed over here in front of me. But before we start with the books that I have read and like what's my review on these books, first I'll like to go for the Fable and check the Fable app, like what's been my journey so far. So I'll just start with the Fable app, and yeah, so we are going to check like how's my 2025 year that was been there. So if I just talk about the Fable 2025 reading wrap up that we have from the library of the Coffee Chapter. Let's look back at the year's journey and the stories you explored. This year you read 14 books. So I've read 14 books, which is not too much. Due to certain unavoidable circumstances, I couldn't reach much. On an average, you finished each books in 5 days and 6 days faster than most readers, which means I was a little bit faster. You have held your 12 streak for 12 days. I've started using Fable since last 12 days, although it was there in my phone for a month or two. You're in the top 10% of the personal growth readers on the Fable. Yeah, I've read a lot of personal growth books. Most popular pick was The Four Agreements. Okay, I have reread this book this month also. Your latest read was Mind is Your Business. Only 6 Fable readers listed this book. Okay, so which means my book picking is quite unique. Now let's close your story with 3 books that made this year special. Okay, your best book of the year that was been there. So I'll pick the 3 books that I have to. I have to pick the 3 books. I'll pick. The answer is no. Okay. All right. And the second book I'd like to pick is definitely The White Knights. I love this book from Fyodor Dostoevsky. And if I have to pick one more book, I'll pick uh, the Immortals of Meluha, basically the Shiva trilogy. I've read the 2 books. I have to go for one more book too. So to wrap it up up, let's see what's been there. Total books read 14 books. Top genre is personal growth. For best streak 12 days and average rating is 4.3. Not bad actually. Next, let's see. Now let's get started on next year's stories. So setting your 2026 reading goals. 14 books that I have, I don't know, set a goal. So let's see. Oh, how to edit this? Okay, so I'll read, let's say I'll go for the 50 books this year for 2026. Let's see if I can cross that mark, because just it is more than double what I've read this year. So I'm picking up 50 books. If I'll cross this mark, we'll add up more into it and we'll be in touch. So I'll putting the 50 books for this year, not much. So now let's talk about the books that I have read in 2025. So these are the books that I have read. All right, I've dropped the books. Let me pick it up. Okay. All right. So I've taken all my books in my hand. And now let's talk about the books that I've read. So the first book that I would like to talk about is The White Knights. I've read this book twice, and if not read this, you are literally missing the major book. This book is written by the Russian literature genius Fyodor Dostoevsky. It talks about 2 people, and one has a name, just mentioned 138 times. Another does not have any name, and in the entire book it's not been mentioned even once. And it shows how a man was so lonely and is living in his own world, and suddenly this girl's come into his life, and this girl is struck by a promise made by another guy, and is waiting for that guy. And how that entire story revolves, how the girl who is waiting for that guy who has promised her to come back, and how the story goes further. It talks about, this story is actually about a heartbreak. So if you are not good at taking heartbreak, this is going to wrench you really bad. I've like read it twice and I really liked it, so I've read it twice. This is the part of my December TBR too. So if you have not watched my December TBR video, it's there. It's mentioned in that. So White Nights, I loved this book. I loved it. I loved it so much. So I've read it twice. Okay. Next book that comes up is written by Don Begwell Riz, and this is The Four Agreement. This book is actually, if I talk about this book particularly, then this book is actually makes four agreements with yourself, like how to live a life without being bothered and without being sulking into the sadness and everything. It talks about that not everything is about you. You have to be really impeccable with your words, and don't take everything too personally. All right, do your best in whatever way you can do it. So this book talks about your personal guide. This is basically a personal guide to your own freedom. If you really want to live freely and don't want to be domesticated like the animals are domesticated, like we teach them and we reward them for their things that we have taught and they have like enacted in a way. So it tells you to not to be domesticated in such a way, because humans are being domesticated in a way. But this tells you to get free from domestication and have your own freedom in your own hand. So this book is really good. If you are someone who likes to read such books, it's a great book to read upon. Okay, the next book is, this book was also the part of my December TBR. Okay, this book I've read it twice again. Next one comes up is The Ego is the Enemy, written by Ryan Holiday. And like I have already shared that this book actually talks about how the ego is your biggest enemy. And this book's actually been divided into three parts. It talks about aspire, it talks about success, and it talks about failure. That all in these three areas of your life, how ego can mold you in a different person, how an egoless person will behave in three situations, like in aspire, success, and failure, and how an person with a lot of ego will behave in these three areas of the person's life. So I would say that if you're really someone who like reading such books, it's a great pick, to be very honest. And this is my second read of the Ryan Holiday, and it's again, this is my part of my December TBR. Okay, next I'll like to talk about this book, Manifest. So this is written by Roxy Nafosi, and I guess this is also the part of my December TBR. I've read it again, and this book actually talks about that manifestation is not about manifesting something mentally, but also doing the things on the ground. Because if you are not doing something on the ground or the practical level, your manifestation won't work. Manifestation is actually the result of your uh, action potential, which is being done, the physical work that you do or the mental work that you do to achieve your goal. That is what manifestation is all about. And during that, it also tells about a very unique thing that I discussed with my friend also, that in case if you're feeling insecure somewhere, or you feel that the other person, who might be a friend or someone very close to you, is like the person is going up and you are just still you are stuck at the same place, and you both have started on the same your journey like together, but still you are there, and the other person has reached somewhere else. And if you are feeling that little bit insecure or being a little bit jealous, it's okay to feel that way, because that's an emotion, you have every right to feel to it. But you need to address that thing, and you need to come over to it and see what you can do and what they have done better to reach at a certain position, and what things that you have not done, and what suits you the best to achieve your goals and your manifestation things. So this book talks about that. It's a great book to be read. Okay, the next book that comes up is a part of a trilogy, that is the Shiva trilogy. It is the Immortals in Veluva and The Secret of Nagas. So I have reread this book, The Secret of Nagas, the second book, because I read it 4 or 5 years back. I read the second book first, and I have recently read the first book. So, Immortals of Naga, as we all know, these two books actually talk about the journey of Shiva, and it talks about it. Might be like here, it's in historical fiction first of all. So here, the writer, the Amish Tripathi, actually has spoken about the that might be, if you just give it a thought, that might be Shiva is not just a god, he is just the human, just like he was just a human like us with a blood and flesh. And he was there, he lived on this earth and taught people many things, taught people about the devil which has been there, and what is right and what is wrong. How will you consider that something is right or something is wrong? Okay, so it's the first book talks about the Immortals of Veluha, which talks about the internal conflict that the Shiva faces during the entire time, or the uh, meeting of Shiva with Sati, and what was the journey of the Sati, and how the Shiva entered into his life, how he became Nilkant in the entire process, and their journey ahead, and what's the life of the Meluhans that they used to live, the Suryavanshi way of lifestyle, and how it is different from the Chandravanshi lifestyle, and what are the conflicts have been there. This first book talks about this, whereas the second book actually talks about the conflict that takes place between Shiva, conflict that takes place inside Shiva's mind and his heart, that whether the Nagas, because the book is the secret of Nagas, so the Nagas are actually the bad people, or they're actually the victim of the evil. They're actually the evil, or they're the victim of the evil, actually, of the societal norms which uh, didn't suit the normal people. And so they made certain rules. Okay, these rules doesn't suit us, so if this is the other people who does not belong to these rules are evil people. So it is something like that. I hope many of you have read this book. I have to read the third book, The Oath of Five Putras. So I will read it in the then 2026. It's part of it is there in my mind. So this is the 2026 book read. 2025. Another book that comes up is this book, I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, written by Baek Sehe, and may her soul rest in peace. She passed a few months back, and I brought this book last year in December, or January, December, or I guess in the starting of January of this year. And this book is actually a memoir. It's a part memoir and part self-help book, you can call it. So Baek Sehe here, because of the childhood that she has seen with her siblings, goes through a lot of anxietal issues and traumas, and her journey, her discussion with her psychiatrist is all about in this book. And to be very honest, this book is so frustrating that you will literally want to pull out your hairs. I have spoke about this book before too, and I literally felt really, really bad for Bexy Hay. To be very honest, I have already have the I've got the second part of it. Although I contemplated a lot about whether to get the second book or not, but I felt that no, I need to read the second book too. And I brought it like few months back, and after bringing that book, I got the news that oh, she is no more. So if you're something, because this is just such a heart wrenching book, you will feel frustrated, you will feel sad, you will feel bad about the Beksehe, and the way she was struggling with her own identity, the way she was struggling with her own beliefs, her traumas that she had suffered in her childhood, and how those traumas and those past experiences shaped the personality of who she was as an adult. So this book is actually somewhere the reflection of ours too, and it makes you think that somewhere the past traumas or the past experiences shapes us the person who we are today. So it's a great book to read. Next book that I read is Mind is Your Business. It is actually written by Sadhguru, and it is a two-in-one book. So this is Mind is Your Business, and if you flip it over, it is Body is Your Greatest Gadget. I don't remember much about it because I have read this book uh, like at the start of the this year. So for most people, the mind seems to be an unruly cacophony, attempting to grasp and shape everything which falls in its purview. In Mind is a Business, Sadhguru explains that only if we make it our business to transform this uncoordinated mess into a well-coordinated symphony, we will able to use the mind rather than be used by it. So it's by using how to that mind is a business. It's basically the book is about read about using your mind well rather than mind using you, uh, and how can you shape it according to your own needs and become the best of the version, become best of your version. So this book is about this. Body is your greatest graduate, I think I read it in December last year, but this part I read it in Fab. So it's a great book to read. It's a short book, not very much, like it's a two books in one, so you can easily finish it off in a day or two if you're a fast reader. I'm a slow reader, so I take a lot of time. The next book like I like to talk about is Adi Yogi. So this book is actually the book which is written again by Sadhguru, and this book is actually talks about the journey of Shiva becoming the Adi Yogi, the supreme uh, identity or the supreme thing for the yoga, and how the journey of the Shiva that he takes place across India to teach people or to let people know what yoga is and how it can benefit you. So it talks about that, and it's a great book to read upon again if you are someone who is in spirituality. It's a great book to read, I would say, and it gives you different perspectives. So this book is about Shiva becoming the Adi Yogi, the supreme god for the yoga. So this is the one. Okay, I'll talk of this book about at the end later on. The next book is Shiva to Schrodinger's. Like I have read quite a book on Shiva this year, written by Dr. Mrityunjay Guha Majumdar. So Dr. Mrityunjay Guha Majumdar is basically an IISc graduate, if I'm not wrong, and he completed his I think PhDs in from Cambridge or somewhere, and he is a physicist basically. So he has written this book on Shiva, on like the Kashmir Shaivism. If you have not know about Kashmir Shaivism, you just go and just look it out for that. And Trick Shaivism talks about Trick Shaivism actually, and how the Trick Shaivism aligns perfectly with the quantum physics. So it's the basically the amalgamation of two different worlds, the modern physics and the spirituality which has been there. And it is this book actually talks about the dualness and the oneness. Okay, that some people believe in the duality, like the two forms of the things, and some believe in the oneness, it is only one form. Same way quantum physics also talks about in such thing only. So Shiva to Schrodinger is basically the bridge which is making between the. It talks about the differences the physics and the spirituality has, and the similarities that the both of these field possesses. Okay, I like this book, but I don't know whether might be I was not ready enough mentally to read this book, or I would say that. Might be at the right book at the wrong time. Okay, but I felt that this book was actually few pages long. It could have been 30 to 40 pages short. This book is about, if I just go through, this book is 100 228 pages long. It could have been 30 to 40 pages easily shorter, because there are a lot of things which have been repeated. So there are a lot of repetition over there which I didn't like. I might reread this book later again in life. Might be, I don't know when. Might be I'll be ready mentally. Might be I'll be ready to read it again and understand it more. But I like this book. But yeah, it could have been 30 to 40 pages lesser. So yeah. Okay, now let's talk about one more book. I've read a lot of spirituality books this year. So this book is The Greatness of Saturn, written by Robert E. Savoboda. And this book actually is this is the English translation of Shani Mahatya. I don't know whether you have heard about Shani Mahatya or not, but this is an English translation done by Robert E. Savoda of Shani Mahatya. It talks about all the 9 planets that we have in the astrology, like the Jupiter, the Mars, like how they look, what are their duties, how the mythological stories takes place, like if I talk about the story of birth of Mercury, like how Mercury came into existence. If you know about the spirituality a little bit, you might figure it out. Or you can say that Mercury was actually this child of Chandra and Tara, who was the wife of Brahaspati. So how he came into existence, what are the stories, how Shani came into existence, what was his part in the entire system. As we all know, the Shani has been also been called as Karam Faldata. Okay, and Dandadhikari, he is being called, and how the Shani Sadhisati, or the 7.5 year period, which has been there for the person, or 2.5 period, like the Dhaiya that we call it, how it shapes the person. It can make from rags to riches, or riches to rags. So this is a great book if you want to have a good knowledge of spirituality, and like a small, I would say the small uh, blend of all the spiritual knowledge, and you want to understand the concept of karma. This is a great book to read, and this is why one of my favorite books for the entire year. So one of the best reads that I have got two more books over here, and one is Atomic Habits, another one is Daily Stoic. So Daily Stoic, if you don't know, it's written by Ryan Holiday, and it contains the pieces from the Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and their little quotes have been there. And this book is actually, if I just tell you, uh, so this is like this. So this book is like, if you can see, I don't know whether you can see it or not. So this book is like, with the dates it's been written, and every month you have a theme. If I can just show you, uh, like for December, I guess the theme was meditation on morality. So this is how the theme are been there. So for every month we have different theme, and date wise these small quotes are being given. And for today, that was on 27th, the theme was don't let your soul go first. It basically talks about that even if your soul is tired, even people who make difference are those people who are, even their body is tired, their soul doesn't get tired. And people those who just are normal people, their soul gets tired first, rather their body getting tired first. So it's a small code book, still 4 or 5 pages left, so it will get completed by 31st of December. It's not completed, so it's one page in a day. And other book is Atomic Habits. It is again the reread for me for this year. I read this book in July 20 I read this book in July, I guess July and August in 2024. So still not done. I have hardly read 50 pages of this book. 51 pages I have read. Yeah, I've read 50 pages of this book. So still this much is part is left. So I hope I will able to complete this book before the year ends. So this is all the books. If I talk about my 5-star reads, so I would say this one, the Shiva to Schrodinger's, was my 5-star read. Then I would say the Shiva trilogy, the Saturn, the Greatness of Saturn, was a 5-star read, and the Shiva trilogy, the two books that I have read. And one more book that was my 5-star read was The White Knights. So these are my 5-star reads for the 2025. I really like them. And if I talk about the books that were 4.5 for me, were actually these three books were 4.5. That is Ego is the Enemy, I Want to Die But I Still Want to Eat Tteokbokki, and The Four Agreements. These are the 4.5-star reads. This book, I like, it could have been a 5-star, but I was so sad, and because of that I've got a 5.5 star, nothing else. But this is a great book. So this is the 4.5 which I felt. And the books that I feel are 4-star read will be these books. That is the Daily Stoic, I would say, the Manifest, Mind is a Business, and Atomic Habits are the 4-star reads. Okay, and yeah, the Adi Yogi is also a 4-star read for me. Shiva to Schrodinger's, because of its length and too much repetition was being there. To be very honest, it was too much repetitive. Might be I was not ready for the book yet, because sometimes you are not ready for some books and you just read it, the book, and you just don't get it. So I don't know, might possibly I was not ready. I don't know. If I'll read this book again, I will review it again in case are there any differences. So let's see. But for now, it is 3.5 star. So these are all my books for 2026, and this is the wrap up for 2026. And I hope you have liked the video. and I'll see you in the next year, and for the 2026 January TBR. We'll meet again next year, but now. And I wish you all a very happy, healthy, and wealthy, and happiest new year. I hope the coming year makes your life really, really happy. And please do support my channel and the other channels of the other book content creator, booktubers. Uh, like they put a lot of effort. I have seen a lot of videos of bookmas. In this entire December month, and to be very honest, a lot of hard work goes over there. I could not do that. I have other works to do also, but still there are a lot of effort that goes in. So that's all, and I'll see you next year. And please do like, share, and subscribe my channel. See you next year. Bye bye.